after several conversations, he sent me an order, $5,500 order. It was an order from the Navy. Between June and December, it went crazy. You wouldn't believe what happened. I got like 18 orders, various sizes. It might be a $3,000 order. It could be a $5,000 order. It could be a $20,000 order. The next year, these orders were coming in consistently. Got another maybe 15 or 20 orders. There's so many opportunities. First, don't worry about knowing everything because I knew nothing, like literally. So just start.
Cheryl, welcome to the channel.
Well, thank you, Dr. Parks. Appreciate it.
So excited to have you here because you not only have won a government contract, but you sell something very unique. So I would love to know, what do you sell? How did you get into it? And how did you start selling what you sell to the federal government?
Okay, thank you so much. You're so full of energy. This is awesome. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and date it. My story started back in 2019, a little while ago, when I opened my store. I sell electric bicycles. And so I got my first sale in like October of 2019. Of course, everybody knows what happened in January, February, COVID hit and the world changed. Well, I'm still learning my business at that point. So it's 2020 and I'm just doing my thing. At some point I decided, I should go and sign up for some of these government contracting courses. There are a lot of free courses that you could take. And so I found a couple of free courses and they were offered by like agencies. And so I would be on these webinars and they were talking way over my head. Like I had no idea what they were talking about for the most part. And then the thing that kind of got me was like, there was a big emphasis on getting certified. And in my mind, I'm like, that's a lot of work. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll do it. But I just would get off the course. I didn't do anything, to be honest. Just went back to operating my little business. And then maybe like a year would pass and I would sign up for another course. So I took at least 2 or 3 of those how to get started in government contracting courses. They were all free and the information was helpful. But again, I didn't really take any action. All right, so here's what happens. So one day I get this email from somebody from the Navy and I'm like, and his email was interesting. It was like he wanted a particular item and he wanted us to remove parts from the item. And he needed the thing to be certified. And so I was like, okay, this is interesting. Now, mind you, I get a lot of emails from all kinds of companies and they say things like, we want to buy 50 of these things. We want to buy 25 of these things. So when I saw it, I was like, okay, is this real or not? I didn't really know. And he sent the email around 11 o'clock in the morning. I responded within like an hour, hour and a half. I just sent him an email back. Now, don't laugh. Don't judge me. My response was something like, thanks for your email. Your email is very interesting. So you want this item. It was an electric trike. You want us to remove these parts. And how many do you want? And then what's your price? What's your budget? I literally asked him, what's your budget? Like, because I'm clueless at this point, right? So he responds back within like a few minutes. And he's like, yeah, it is a very interesting request. And he said, don't worry about the budget. And yes, he did want it. And he said something like, as far as the quantity, we don't know yet. We're trying to decide. All right. So that was great. So I got to thinking about it. I'm like, wow, this is truly a blessing. And this is a gift. Like, I'm not sure what's happening here, but I see there's an opportunity. So at that point, I already had the item. It was an electric tricycle, by the way. And I'd already been selling these. And I had one vendor that I was very familiar with, but I had just brought in a new vendor. And so I was kind of leaning toward this new vendor. So I reached out to them, I texted them or I emailed them a message and they respond, but they couldn't handle the certification. The Navy wanted the item to be UL listed, UL certified. And they had a CE certification, which I think is a European type of a certification. So I went back to the Navy and I told him about that product. He said, well, it can't be CE certified. So then I go back to my original vendor, the one I already had a relationship with. And they were like, yeah, we actually do have that certified. They needed the battery to be certified, UL listed. And so they came back and they said, yeah, we can remove this component, the throttle. We can do this. And so I was like, okay, great. So I get on the phone with the guy and we talk and we're having a conversation and we kind of go back and forth. And to be honest with you, I wasn't listed on Sam.Gov. He told me to go out to Sam.Gov and get registered. So I did that because I was looking at my notes. I'm like, wow, I did all this stuff within a matter of about 2 or 3 weeks. And after several conversations, he sent me an order. It was like a $5,500 order, not a big order, but it was an order from the Navy. And so I fulfilled the order. Well, I forgot to mention this part. There was a lot of exchange. This didn't happen like overnight. I sent him photographs. I would label the photograph to show that the thing was UL listed. I tried my best to make sure that what he wanted, we could deliver. So we get the order and they basically pay for it with a credit card. So like that was good. And my vendor fills the order and it gets shipped and everything is good. Unbeknownst to me, when he gets the order, they didn't remove the throttle. They didn't set the speed the way they asked for it. But the guy was super, super nice, right? He just sent an email saying, hey, this is what happened and we're trying to figure this out. So I sent him a document to help him along the way. This is a heavy item, so it's not like we could just ship it back to the factory, nor could we send a tech out there. It would have been pretty cost prohibitive to do that. But he was pretty cool. So we worked through all that. And so this all the way by the happened like the end of January is when the first inquiry came in. The email, I got my order like around the second week of February. So it all happened fairly quick, right? So now it's into March and he's telling me this, he had this problem and that problem with it not being filled correctly. But again, he wasn't negative. He was all really, really cool. If I recall, everything was good. And, our relationship was just basically through email. So this is like 2022, by the way. So then what happens is about a month or two goes by and I get another inquiry from the Navy. This is a totally different person. And now she wants me to quote on 2 more of these tricycles. I'm like, okay, great. So we just have this conversation through email. Nothing really happens. This is around March-ish, roughly. Nothing really happens. So I think it's around June is when things started to really pick up. It went crazy. You wouldn't believe what happened, Kizzy. Between June and December of that year, I got like 18 orders.
Wow.
Of various sizes. Like it might be a roughly a $3,000 order. It could be a $5,000 order. It could be a $20,000 order. And my sales rep for the vendor, she was so excited. If you can imagine the sales rep, she's like, call them up and tell them that we can paint it in the color that they want. Call them up and tell them we can do this and we can do that. And I'm like, I don't think it really works like that. And I'm trying to tell her each time an order comes through, or really a bid, it's a solicitation. So let me correct that. It's first a solicitation. And each time a solicitation comes through, it's with a different person. So it's not like it was just one person. It was one for one particular naval base, one location. But I was getting all these different people contacting me. So I was trying to explain to her, like, it doesn't really work like that. It's not like I can just, call one person and say, hey, we can do this, this, and this for you. And yeah, by the way, we'll paint this tricycle in the color you want. It doesn't work like that. But anyways, it really worked out to my favor. So I say it was like a gift from God because I literally wasn't on Sam.Gov when I got the first inquiry. I did get it eventually, like by the time the order was filled, I had a UEI number. And so that was all good. And eventually, I think that first year too, I probably had to get signed up on the PIEE system so I can get paid by WAWF, I call it WAF.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how it started. Kind of crazy, but I did pretty good business that first year. The next year, it was really good. I got another maybe 15 or 20 orders over time. But I found out that there were other people bidding too, right? So it wasn't just me. I would have loved to have cornered the market, of course. And my supplier was like, I'm getting calls from this other person now. And so I learned that they were basically they had to outsource it, obviously, and get other bids. And so they were definitely getting bids. And so at the end of the day, it worked out in my favor because I was able to continue the business. Now, again, by the end of 2022, I forgot to mention this part. I realized if like I really don't know what's going on here and I need help. That's when I got on YouTube and I found your content. And I may have seen some other people, but I really resonated with your content because I remember you being super personable and you were sharing stories. And I was like, okay, I really, I want to hear from her. She knows what's going on. And so then I hop over on Facebook and I joined your group. And I think at the beginning of 2023, I think that's when I got into your coaching program. That was a game changer for me as well.
Okay.
That's a lot.
I love this. I have so many questions. Before we get into the coaching program,
Okay.
I know people want to know, what are they using the trikes for?
Okay. Oh, yeah. Right.
Because it's like, especially now, electric bikes are popular.
Yeah.
And so it's like on a naval base for trikes, like, what are they doing?
Right. Yeah. Well, that's a great question. At first, Kizzy, I didn't ask. I didn't ask until you told me to ask. See, you or Lori, somebody told me to ask. Because I was like, I'm just filling these orders. Because I remember you telling me, what I'm doing is more transactional, but that's another story. We'll get into that in a minute. But yeah, they actually use the trikes to get around the base. These naval bases are huge. They can be like little small cities. And so they use them to get around. And I was told that they use them to deliver small packages because these are electric trikes. They're not huge. I mean, they're big for one person. And this particular trike, you could add a back seat to, but they never ordered the back seat. So it's basically designed just to carry one person, and there's a basket in the back, and you can add a basket in the front. So you could put a small package there. But yeah, that's how they use the trikes.
I love that.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Love that. And I love the fact, due to your relationship with the provider, the supplier, it allowed you to have a certain edge in the market.
It absolutely did. And they were so happy. Trust me, they weren't getting any government orders that I'm aware of. And to know that their product is on a naval base now, I mean, that's a pretty big thing. And these orders were coming in consistently. So like I say, in 2022, between June and December, I felt like 18 orders, and it was a nice chunk of business for me. It definitely changed the business. And then 2023, it was the same, nice, consistent flow.
Love that. And so chat with us about, you said there was the game-changing event, you got into the coaching. What has changed? What has happened since then?
Okay. Yeah, so it's very interesting. Like the coaching, what I got out of it initially was just to build the confidence, and to hear about other opportunities, because there's so many opportunities. And I realized, okay, I could do the bikes, I can do other things as well, but I did kind of stay in the bike lane for the most part. But some people were doing kind of like the middleman strategy. And so that piqued my interest. I did look at that. I did go off script a little bit, if you will. And I, bid on some things. I didn't win those bids necessarily, but I was just mostly, I would say, excited about the opportunity because I realized it is such a huge marketplace, right? And so then again, you had mentioned early on that it was more of a transactional thing for me. I was like filling orders. Look, I didn't mind filling orders because the money was coming in and they pay, right? So it was okay. But then I realized, I got to step up my game a little bit. And that's when I learned to be a lot more personable. And, again, most of this is just coming through email. They didn't really have to call me. And so what happened was, but the people who did call, believe it or not, it's the accounts payable people. They would call me to give the credit card information. And so that's when I thought, okay, I've got to get to know these people better. So I built this spreadsheet, and I, every time I got an interaction with somebody, I put it on a spreadsheet. If it was a bid request, I put it on a spreadsheet. I put the date that I put the quote out there. I put the vendor's invoice, the whole nine. I try to document everything. And so when the accounts payable people would contact me to pay, I would just try to warm up a little bit and, chat with them a little bit. And I remember one time I told you this story. This one lady had told me that she was married to somebody, and this was early on, right? And I didn't really make a big deal of it, and I didn't really respond to the fact that she was married to this person. And you told me, she was trying to, I don't remember exactly what you said, but you were basically telling me she was trying to warm up to you. She was trying to be more personable, and I didn't really get the clue at the time. But after that conversation I had with you, it changed. So what happened was I would get to know the accounts payable people more. And this one particular lady, I really got to know her. So she started telling me about her sons, about their being in the military. And, I was telling her about my kids. And so we just started to talk. And then eventually what happened was, this surprised me. It was like last year, I got a call from one of the accounts payable people. They're like, well, how do you want to get paid? And I'm like, ooh, that's a really interesting question. I'm like, they were asking me, do you want to get paid through the WAF system or through the credit card? And at the time I was like, credit cards, I get paid faster. So I went with credit card, but you pay those fees when you pay credit card. WAF is actually better. But with WAF, I had a few contracts like that. And there's a lot of steps involved. And so if you miss a step, it can hold things up a little bit. Money is kind of like, I need that cash flow. So I was like, I'll just get paid with credit card. Well, I don't think they do that anymore, because the last order that came through, I learned that they don't do the P card for this particular service. It got canceled, which is fine. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting that they would actually call me and ask me how do I want to get paid? Like, why did they call me? So I was like, that's pretty cool.
No, it's really cool because you built the relationship, and so it put you in a different position. Instead of, this is how you will get paid, doesn't matter. Because of the relationship, then it's like, let's give her options.
Yeah, I think that was the case. And I definitely was thinking the same thing. And another thing too, like with the, and I'm kind of going off track a little bit, but with the orders, I did have one order that was kind of messy. The first one was messy, but it wasn't not a big deal because they were really cool. I had another order where it was a problem. And that one, there are a lot of people involved in these contracts. Like I would get the initial bid request from, maybe it might be like a supply tech, or it could be like a person from DLA. And then what I saw is that they would add another party to the email exchange with the award. And I thought, okay, so maybe that's the end user. Because my supplier kept saying, contact this person, contact this person. I'm like, well, I don't even know who the end user is. It's like the end user might be the end user. I don't really know. And so this particular order was messy. Something happened wrong. It was a technical issue. And another person got involved. And then I had this whole chain of people on an email. I'm like, oh my goodness. But I just followed up. I just followed through, do what I do, troubleshoot the best I can, go to my vendor, tell them what's going on. And in this case, the vendor, we had done enough business with the Navy and they knew that they just needed to take the thing back and send another one. So I think that's what happened with that particular order. They ended up sending one back and sending another one again, because it was a situation where they really couldn't send a person out to fix it. But thankfully it worked out. I think with that experience, what I learned really was just be true to yourself, stay in touch, talk to whoever you need to talk to. When you respond by email, respond to the people professionally and appropriately and timely. Well, that was one of the things that you had said in the training one time. I remember you saying, like, don't make them wait. So when I get an inquiry, I'm on it. If it's late in the day, this particular group is out of Washington State, so there's a 3-hour difference. So I might respond like the next morning on some things, but if it's a problem, I'm on it right away. And that's been a blessing because it has really eliminated. It's been a good relationship. That's the only thing I can say. It's really been a blessing. I haven't had any real issues to speak of necessarily. So I'm really thankful for that.
I love this. Go ahead.
Yeah. And so what happened was I did get a few orders for another base. It was another Navy base in a different location. And then also with the training, I remember going out to, there was a VA site, and I remember going out there looking for, there was like a whole list of small business contacts. I remember talking to Lori about that. Lori was one of the ladies that helped me out a lot. I had a couple calls with her. And I think initially for me, it was just learning how to talk to the different people within the government and understanding that they're just people and they have a problem. They basically have a need. They have a mission or a goal. And if I could help them solve their mission or goal, I'm in a good place. So I think early on, I was just making a lot of phone calls, following up. Sometimes it didn't really lead to business per se, but what it did lead to was my confidence. Like, I'm fine talking to anybody now. It doesn't matter. I'm good. Like, I'm very comfortable talking to people. I'm fine following up. And I think that's just part of the service. I did learn, also that the government, they have a mission, and if me as a vendor, my job is to help them fulfill that mission, fulfill that order, do it in a timely, professional manner. And that's pretty much just how I treat the business.
Yes, you're spot on. That's what it all is. It's like lots of people. There's a lot of people behind the scenes involved. We are here to fulfill their mission, regardless of what it is. They're just people. They just want the thing, which I love that. And you mentioned DLA. When did you start winning work with them?
Well, it was like all a part of that same process. That's what I mean. Like, sometimes I would get an inquiry from a Navy.mil person. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it would be a DLA person. Uh-huh. And I never even knew what that was until I think you told me at some point. And I was just like, okay, I get these inquiries from a person from DLA, and then it might switch to somebody else. But that's the way it's always been. It's usually one of those two contacts.
Did they make you or ask you or volunteer you to register on DIBS?
I did register on DIBS, but they didn't make me know. I don't think they did.
And so none of these purchases for DLA is through DIBS?
I don't know. I know that the big ones are in Sam.Gov. And I think that FPDBS, I was looking at my notes. Yeah, that federal database, they're there. Because I learned about that through you. And I know that some of the big ones are out there. But as far as DIBS, I've been on DIBS for sure. And I couldn't tell you if they're on DIBS or not.
I bring it up to highlight when they want you, they will find you, and make it easy for both parties. Because some think you can only sell to DLA through DIBS. Oh. And that's not the case. You can go on SAM. If they wanted to, they probably could figure out a way just to sole source work to you.
Yeah.
But it's clear you have what they want. It works. They need it. So they keep reaching out or notifying you of opportunities.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I definitely didn't do anything special. It started exactly the way I described it. It was like a blind email that came through with an inquiry, and they were looking for a specific thing and they needed to be modified. And I was able to fill it, by working with my vendor. And that's exactly how it started. And then from there, I know that other people were bidding too, because they probably had some other vendors, that they needed to work with, and maybe they had previous relationships. So I didn't get 100% of the orders. My supplier was like, they wanted me to get 100% of the orders. It's like, yeah, right. I would love to do that. But I don't know how that works.
I think it's like us. Like, some days you go to Walmart, some days you go to Target.
Exactly.
It's just, some days you go to CVS.
Exactly.
Or Aldi or something, It's just like we mix it up. And that's another thing is they like to mix it up, different price quotes, or maybe there's a competitor offered something, who knows, but you still got the sales. And then from my understanding, you've since branched out the state level.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so what happened was in 2023, I didn't get a lot of business, honestly, from the Navy. It was only a few orders. I mean, they have started this year ordering, so I'm very thankful for that. Yeah, I've already definitely gotten some orders. So last year, I have a VA. And we have a chat bot too. But my VA said, "Hey, you've got this person. They're inquiring about some items for children." And it's with the state of Texas. And I was like, let me check it out. So I looked at the email. I want to make sure it's a .gov or whatever it needs to be extension and not a .gmail or some weird extension. So I checked it out and I had told my VA, I'm like, okay, let her know I'm going to email her. So I emailed her right away. Turns out she's with the state of Texas with a particular organization and that they were looking for vendors. And her main concern was, would I take a purchase order? And I'm thinking, you're absolutely right. I will take a purchase order because it's the state of Texas. I didn't say it like that, but my first thought was, of course, I'll take an order. And I was like, just to let you know, I do a lot of business with the Navy and, those are typically on terms. So she was happy to know that. And so that was like in mid 2023-ish. And I reached out to her again. I said, hey, let's have a Zoom meeting so we can talk. So we did. And she, got me set up on their system. And I think I reached out again later that year, but I never really got any orders. And I thought, well, it's the fourth quarter, so maybe they're just not doing this thing, But I did reach out. And so this year I reached out again and that's when the orders started coming in. So it's a new relationship and it's, they're not huge orders just yet. But what it did for me, Dr. Parks, is I said, okay, well, if this state has this service and they need these things, there's a bunch of other states that I can go to. So that's kind of where I am now. So a couple of weeks ago, I said, okay, let me just go through this list and figure out what other states provide these services for families. And then what I can do is just send blind emails. So that's where I am with that. And it really just, again, I think because of the training that you gave me and talking to Lori, because Lori is so good. Yes. I mean, she is excellent. And so that's what got me thinking. I'm like, well, hey, if Texas needs it, there are other states, they probably have a very similar service. So that's been a blessing as well.
Oh my goodness. I love this. I love this so much because it shows how you've taken this situation that could have just been transactional. They contacted me, bing, bang, I'm done. And you made it more than that. And that's the key. Getting the second money, reaching out to the states, keep pinging the states. Mm-hmm. Feel free to ask them, are there any other departments in Texas or any counties or cities in Texas that may need this or nonprofits? I think it's excellent because I know because of you, I'm always looking for electric bikes. Like I live full-time in Mexico. There are so many electric bikes here. Just like they're everywhere. And it's so cool. And especially for kids, kids, adults, and on military bases, it makes sense. And then given your experience, so you stand out. It's not you're just renting out bikes or you're simply selling them, but like you've sold them to organizations and the Navy. That's a big deal.
Yeah, it is. And I'm really thankful for that because I've kind of stayed in that one lane, and I actually sell electric trikes to them, but I've tried the bikes. I haven't gotten the bikes through just yet because what happens with that has been like the forestry department. They do order electric bikes, but a lot of times they're looking for a specific model or specific brand. And I've bid on a few of those, but I just haven't won them yet. But it's wide open. Trust me. I know that the opportunity is still there. And to me, it's like I've got a couple of really good suppliers that I would feel comfortable selling to the government. With electric bikes, electric trikes, you have to be really careful what you buy. So you want to make sure that what you buy can be serviced and that the parts are available. So thankfully, the one that I sell to the Navy, they're solid. There's another bike that I would be comfortable selling to the Navy because they're a really solid supplier. I have some other products that I wouldn't be comfortable selling because I know that the support's not there. It's not as fast. And like I said, with the Navy, I've got to handle my business. There's an issue. I need to get it resolved right away.
No, you definitely do. And I love that because you're looking out for them. It's not my fault. I didn't make the bike or I didn't make the trike. It's like, it doesn't work like that. And even for forestry or another agency, I recommend reaching out to whomever. It could be small business rep or whoever's there, given all of the buyouts and the things that are going on, and maybe just see if they can try one.
Yeah.
Notice that you buy these quite regularly and there's a particular brand that you select. Potentially think of just trying one from my selection. If you like it, great. Maybe even offer them a little discount. Yeah. And say, hey, try it out. If you like it, great. If you don't, then you tried it. And they may, because somebody, anything in the federal government, somebody had to introduce them to it. Somebody was like, I want that make and model, especially with products. So is it that thing that they're using is superior, or is it preference?
Right.
And if it's preference, you can sway preference.
That's a good point. Yeah, I love that. I love that because the door is still open, and it could have been preference, and like there's this thing with e-bikes. I'll just briefly, there's a thing called, like, there's a mid drive where the motor sits in the middle of the bike, like below the crank where you pedal. Then there's the hub motor, is the motor sits in the rear of the trike. And a lot of the product that I have are hub motors, but I do have a vendor now that's got a really solid mid motor. That's what the forestry typically buys. And so I thought, okay, I just need to, get my stuff together and reach out to them and offer this product, because I know that they're looking for, it's a little bit of a higher quality bike on the one hand.
Awesome. So in addition to reaching out to states, circling back with them, what other kind of new endeavors are you checking out in the government contracting space?
Well, that's a good question. So this is more of again, it's kind of like relationship. I have another vendor who has a trailer. So when people buy these trikes, they got to haul them. Let's say you're in Arizona and you want to go down to Florida for the winter, you got to haul your trike. And so there's these trailers that you can buy. So my vendor, he told me that he has done some contracting business too. So it's a lot of times it's just about following up, like I try to have a good relationship with my vendors and the ones that are great. And if they open up and say, hey, I've sold my item to the government too, maybe you can. So it's about following up with those opportunities.
I love that. And then offering it. Even if they won't ask for it, you could still say, hey, just in case, you can maybe buy one trailer. Because I wouldn't even think about that.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's a huge need. And like adaptive equipment, like for veterans and so forth, they may have like a recumbent tricycle. So they'll need to haul it basically from point A to point B. That's a big thing. Yeah. As far as other opportunities, honestly, I like the whole middleman concept, and I haven't done any, staffing or anything like that. When I was in your program, I networked with a lot of ladies, and they were interested in doing staffing. And I thought, okay, that's like out of my lane. And I had talked to another individual who told me, you kind of want to stay in your own lane. And I've kind of fought with that a little bit because I know ideally it makes sense to stay in your own lane. But when I think about the other opportunities, it's like, man, that other side looks really good over there, But so far, I've just done, the electric bikes, and that's been my thing, or electric trikes in this case. That's mostly what I've won. And well, that's not true because with Texas, it's not electric trikes. It could be accessories and other things.
No, I love that. And what about the person that's out there that's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I think I can do it. I don't really know. What advice can you give for them?
Yeah, I would say, I'm always going to say go for it. But first, don't really worry about knowing everything because I knew nothing, like literally. And so just start. That's what I would say. Like you used to tell us, go on Sam.Gov and start looking, have a business, at least, in my opinion, have your business and get it at least registered, do that part, and then go on Sam.Gov and then start looking. And then, decide what you want to sell, and what you want to sell may or may not be on Sam.Gov, but just look for opportunities. That's probably the first thing I would say. Just look for opportunities. And I think it's good to get training. I think it's good to get the free training, with the various, like there's this group called the Georgia Apex Accelerator. That's who I use. And I can remember early on, like after I won the business with the Navy, I reached out to them and they actually did some research for me in my niche in the electric bikes. And that was helpful. And then later on, a few months later, I went back and found another lady over there. She was super good. She would give me ideas on how to reach out to other members in various departments and so forth. It was just encouraging to keep talking. And I think that's what I would tell someone. Obviously, do the work, go on Sam.Gov and look, but then don't be afraid to join meetings. Don't be afraid to get a part of your Apex Accelerator if they're in your area. And, just get started. I mean, that's like I say, for me, it was literally, I answered an email. That's how I started. And from there, it went on to be a pretty nice chunk of business for me.
Yeah. And I commend you because you continue the training, like you mix it in with, you took the chance with the email, you got the free training, you leveraged the Apex, you went through our paid coaching program, like you continue learning, applying, adjusting. That's
yeah.
key, is learn, apply, adjust. Because it's like with any business. I mean, Netflix started out with those DVDs. Look at where they are now. I mean, it's like the same thing goes with where you are. So I commend you because the sky is the limit. Like you said, there are 49 other states.
Exactly.
And that excludes Guam,
Right.
Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands. They have a need for these too.
Yeah. And I'm totally open to that. And I appreciate what you said. And I hope people really, really understand, because that's very true. I mean, it's a huge marketplace. I mean, like they don't make anything. I'm always reminded of the government, they don't make anything. So everything that they need, they have to purchase from somebody, some company. So I love the fact that there are just opportunities outside the USA, or there's, like I say, Guam and these other areas. And I don't really ship internationally, but that's because I haven't investigated enough. But for the right customer, I would absolutely ship internationally, and definitely for the government. So I just think it's huge opportunity. I mean, I think if anybody's thinking about it, they should, training is great, but they should really get started and go from there.
No, I love that. I love that. And if anyone wants to reach out to, or maybe they want to get in this business, what's the best way, Cheryl, for them to connect with you?
Yeah, you can find me on allaroundebikes.com. That's my website. It's allaroundebikes.com. And there is, if you click the contact page, you're going to find a contact form there. You can just drop an email. You can send it to Cheryl, but I'll definitely get it. Or you could also email cheryl.wilson@allaroundebikes.com.
Yes, and I please encourage you all to reach out. I am so proud for you. I'm so impressed with how you've taken this and you have grown it. I'm just so impressed. So I want to thank you for coming on here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Also for all my amazing GovCon winners and viewers. Check out the book, winnerswaybook.com. Like, subscribe, hit that notification button. And what is your website one more time?
Oh, it's allaroundebikes.com. And I want to thank you, Kizzy, for inviting me here. Your training was super valuable. It gave me the confidence I needed to keep going and not get discouraged. The government is a huge space, but I'd say don't get discouraged. Just keep going.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you, thank you. And you can keep going.
All right.
I'll be back. When you win another state, let me know. We'll have you back to talk more about it.
All right. Sounds good. I look forward to that.
Yes, same here. Don't forget, y'all, like, subscribe, hit the notification button, and everything is possible. Until next time.